When most of our students go off to college, they have parents by their side, right? Those parents are supporting their hopes and dreams. But we have some students on our campuses that don't have those parents. I'm talking about youth who have grown up in the foster care system and are aging out during this really delicate transition time from high school to college. These students, they've likely experienced abuse, neglect, even abandonment at the hands of their parents. They rarely get messages of hope about their future. In fact, they're usually told they aren't going to amount to much, they're likely to fail. I'd like to take a minute to read to you from one of my students' letters. For the purpose of today, we'll call her Amy. Amy said that on her high school graduation day, she was so excited that almost half of the people that approached her expressed relief that she managed to complete her goal. She said, "They told me that they really did not think I was going to make it across that stage because of who my mother and father were. I know I should be happy that I surpassed all their expectations, but hearing those comments from those I thought unreservedly believed in me, well, that was painful." Now, perhaps because of the statistics, former foster youth are often underestimated. Some research suggests that only about 3% of them ever get a college degree, compared to about 27% of their non-foster care peers. Well, at Florida State University, we looked at those numbers and we thought, these don't represent these students' abilities. So in 2012, we began the Unconquered Scholars program to provide guidance, mentorship, support to former foster youth and homeless students. And since our inception, our first cohort of about 19 students, we've grown exponentially to actively serve well over 100. And I'm super excited to say we've already graduated 2 cohorts. We do this by focusing on their strengths. Oh, thank you. This is for them. Yeah, I'm so proud, can you tell? We do this by focusing on their strengths, okay? Their grit, their determination. We let them know that they're uniquely qualified to be at our institution because of what they've been through, that they're not at a deficit. We celebrate their resilience. From its inception, Unconquered students inform all aspects of our programming, from our mission to the design of the program, even to the day-to-day activities. They're involved in all of our steering. Now, including their voice is a very important aspect to empowering them. These students really didn't have a lot of opportunity to have much say in their lives before they got here. Sometimes they didn't know where they were going to be living from day to day, or if they'd even have a roof over their heads. So giving them that power is essential, and we let them know, listen, you're the experts in what it's like to be a foster youth or homeless student at FSU. So please, let us know what you need. What are your barriers? Let us help you figure out ways around those. And once they trust us and they know that we're listening, well, they start to tell us. Now, it's not always easy. They arrive to campus with an absolute fierce sense of independence. This is a part of why they've survived what they've been through, and we celebrate that too. But once they started to tell us, well, we heard them. They said, listen, we need a space on campus where we can just let our guard down, where we can be with other students who just get it. So we opened the Unconquered Scholars Study Suite. This is that space for them where they can just go, hang out with each other, study and chat, sometimes with me. But really, they're forming a family here on our campus, and this is their family room. Now, sometimes they need someone to talk to one-on-one about whatever's going on in life to bounce ideas off of. So we head down to my office and chat. Now, we all know how hungry college students are, right? They're much happier when they're well-fed. So I keep a really large bookshelf in my office full of snacks. And they'll snack on those while we're chatting. But it really didn't take long to realize that many of these students were eating most of their meals off of my snack. they're experiencing food insecurity. So naturally, I referred them to the very well-stocked food pantry on our campus, and I learned something really interesting. These students would rather go hungry than to be seen relying on donated goods from someone they don't know or trust, right? So I said, okay, if the suite is your family room, what if we put a small food pantry in there? Would you use it? And they're like, yeah, okay. So that's what we did. And now far, far fewer of our students are going hungry. But nothing hits these students quite as hard as Parents' Weekend. Yeah. Thousands of parents come to campus to visit their respective student, and this is a really salient reminder to our students of the childhood they didn't have, of the supports they don't have now. In addition to that, we saw a decline in them academically and socially during and after Parents' Weekend. So we thought, okay, we gotta get off of campus during Parents' Weekend and do something that a family would do. So the very first year, myself and my intern loaded up in cars, actually those large 15-passenger vans, they're terrifying to drive, and we headed to Savannah, Georgia. I'll always remember this. A student from the very back of my van hollered at the top of his lungs, "Miss Lisa, I've never been out of Georgia," just as we passed the Welcome to Georgia sign, which is, by the way, only about 45 minutes outside of Tallahassee. They were so excited to be on this adventure together. Now, since then, we've been able to up the ante a little bit, and now we take the quintessential family vacation to Disneyworld. Yeah. For the past 3 years, thanks to some private donors and Disney Corporation giving us the resources, our students' Disney dreams come true. And what they tell me is that they never even thought they'd have the chance to go to Disney World, let alone do it with each other. Now, they notice small gestures, like the Disney employee who gives them a few extra fast passes, which are valuable, or being able to stay at a clean, safe hotel, right? I had one student who's kind of an introvert, like me, and she surprised herself when she hopped up on stage to dance with a bunch of Disney cast members, and later she told me it was because she felt so safe and supported by everyone that was there. Right? Year after year, though, even though they enjoy riding the rides and taking pictures with Mickey and Minnie, they tell me what matters most are those quiet moments together where they can just be and feel supported and let some of the disappointments and some of that sensation they have that the world might be against them, they can just leave that behind. And they can feel close and connected with one another. Now, I knew when I wanted to go into my graduate program that, of Masters of Social Work, by the way, if you couldn't already tell, that I wanted to work with emerging adults, specifically during their transition from high school to college. I think this is a remarkable time of life where we're asking young people to give up most of the supports they're used to, start living independently, make really important life decisions, and oh, by the way, your brain is still under construction, right? I was really fortunate in my graduate assistantship to be paired with a professor who specialized in youth aging out, and she shared with me all of this research about the barriers these students face getting into and through higher ed. And I remember looking at that and thinking, these are real people. Like, surely we can see improved outcomes with additional supports. And that's exactly what the scholars are doing. Right now, they have a 4-year graduation rate of 85%. The 6-year rate, yes. The 6-year rate, as you can see, is 90%, and their cumulative GPA hovers right around a 3.0. So, yeah. So this statistically vulnerable population, generally speaking, is outperforming the general student body at Florida State University. Yes, go Noles. No one really understands what it's like to have the experience they're experiencing, but them. They come to our campus and they say, listen, I feel alone. I feel different. I feel like no one understands. And it makes sense, right? So we connect them with each other. We get them to start recognizing their strengths, and we get them to look at our program's data, and they realize, you know what? I don't have to believe that 3%. I'm surrounded by my peers who are completing their education, who are going on to grad school, who are going into their chosen professions, and I can do that too. These students are outperforming the low expectations that other people are setting for them. And if you can't already tell it throughout this entire presentation, I'm clearly biased in their favor. I think they're absolutely remarkable, and they inspire me every single day. I want to take another moment to read a little bit more from Amy's letter. Being underestimated has nothing to do with you. It is solely someone else's perspective of you and your situation. I am not my mother, I am not my father, and I am not someone who is incapable of success. One may think I never had a fair chance, but look at what I've achieved. I cannot wait to see what can be accomplished with the expectations are high. At Florida State University, we see no reason for setting low expectations. We get it, statistics, and they can inform us, but we absolutely refuse to let those statistics define us. These students, they're not giving up, they're not giving in, they're not surrendering to the circumstances that they had no control over. They fully embody the unconquered spirit, and that's truly what makes them unconquered scholars. Thank you.